Welcome, everyone, to our Robotech Festival Women in STEM chat, meant to inspire students to apply their girl power. My name is Michelle Wells, and I am the current board president and a co-founder of Shared Science. We're a nonprofit organization based in Long Beach, California, whose mission is to deliver STEM programming and advocate for STEM education in our local area. Shared Science is a proud sponsor of Robotech Festival alongside the Port of Long Beach. Together, we are hoping to inspire our future innovators, as are all of today's panelists. Thank you all for your participation and support. Panelists, please wave hello when I announce your name. Jacqui Viale, Shared Science board member whose focus is on STEM advocacy. Olivia Pettis, Long Beach Polytechnic High School ninth grader who will be leading our Q&A a little later in our program. Kathye Griffis, City of Long Beach Energy Resources Manager. Katie Sanders, California Resources Corporation Mechanical Integrity Manager. Say that 5 times fast. Clara Astua, City of Long Beach Development Services Civil Engineer. And Sunny Zia, Port of Long Beach Program Manager. Each of these women are amazing in their chosen career fields, and we are so pleased to have them join us. Today's chat will include story sharing by each panelist, followed by a Q&A led by Olivia Pettis. First up, I'd like to introduce Ms. Kathye Griffis. Kathye has over 40 years working in the oil industry. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering from Clarkston College of Technology in New York. She is currently a manager working for the City of Long Beach Energy Resources Department. Her responsibility with the city is to oversee the operation of the oil islands to ensure they are operating in a safe manner. She also works closely with the Port of Long Beach in coordinating port projects that may affect old field operations. Prior to working for the city, she worked for California Resources Corporation as a chief engineer, overseeing a staff of over 20 engineers and contractors. Kathye Griffis, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle.
So I'm hoping, Kathye, that you can share a story with us that would be of interest to our young students.
Over 40 years, you'd think I'd have a million stories. I tell you, when I first started out getting my degree and what I wanted to do, I was like, I had no idea. But what I wanted to do, I had interest in fixing things and solving problems. And, math was always kind of my strong suit, and kind of science. And so I took a lot of math courses, took science courses. It actually came in handy, when I first started working. So, remember 40 years ago, I was like, I didn't know anything in the oil field at all. So when I first started, it was like, what's a well? What does this look? And what does this look like? And so when I was working, it was working as like an all male environment. Going to meetings, I'd be the only woman in that environment. And I'll tell you, it was a little bit intimidating being a young engineer and being in meetings where you see, you don't see a single woman in there. But, you get used to it. You get used to being the only woman there. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to share is when I kind of first started out in meetings, I'm a really shy person, by nature. And so by sending these meetings, you'd have an idea and you'd want to, spit it out, and you'd want to, talk to, the people that are in there. But I was pretty intimidated by the experience in the field and by, the other people in the meeting. And so I tended not to say anything. And then, sure enough, sooner or later, in the meeting, someone else came up with the same thing I wanted to say. I'm like, dang, why didn't I say that? And so you kind of learn that, do not be afraid of expressing yourself and putting your ideas out. A lot of employers and teams, they like people who brainstorm. You don't have to be 100% correct at all when you're explaining something or asking questions and stuff. Just the fact that you may stir something in somebody else's mind that they may, oh, you know what, she's got a good point. I think let's go down this path and stuff. So I would encourage anybody getting in this field, young people have a lot of good ideas, and you look at it from a really fresh perspective. Sometimes those, people in these old positions, kind of get, stodgy and, on their views. And, it's really good to have a fresh look on things when you have a new person coming in, looking at it different ways. So that's kind of my 2 cents, my story.
Super important, right? To believe in yourself and be willing to speak up. Amazing. Thank you, Kathye.
You're welcome.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Katie Sanders. Katie is the Mechanical Integrity Manager for California Resources Corporation. Katie joined CRC in 2011 as a Facilities Project Manager for Elk Hills after serving as a Facilities Engineering intern in Houston the previous summer. In 2014, she transferred to Long Beach to support the LA Basin operating areas in various technical engineering roles, including process, mechanical integrity, and project management. In addition, Katie has served as the chair of the Women's Interest Network since its inception in 2017. In this role, she has led the steering committee in executing events and programs to empower women and promote equity, diversity, and inclusion at CRC. Katie enjoys stepping up to lead technical and cross-functional teams and empowering them to leave things better than they were found. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here today. So I wanted to tell a story about when I got into engineering. So I decided to pursue mechanical engineering because it was really broad and I wasn't sure exactly what industry I wanted to work in, but I knew I really liked math and science and problem solving. And so I actually decided to do mechanical engineering. My dad and my grandpa were also both mechanical engineers. And when I was actually in school, I went to the office hours of professors to kind of check in with them and to make sure I was understanding some concepts correctly. And talking to him, I found out that my dad actually had him as a professor. And so I was telling my grandpa then the same story that I had the same professor as my dad. And he said, hey, I actually remember that guy. And he was actually my grandpa's teaching assistant. So there were actually 3 generations of mechanical engineers all in my family that had the same professor. And I thought this was super cool. I thought this was really an exciting and cool experience. But besides that, I think the funniest thing, or the thing that I took the most with me, was that my professor, he actually pulled out his grading sheet, his roster, and he found my dad on there, and he noted that my dad had actually gotten a C in the class. And so he showed the grade, and it actually really stayed with me a lot because I had always held my dad, he's the smartest guy, he's the best guy, he always would get the best grades and all of that. And then finding out that my dad got a C in the class kind of took some of the pressure off of me, that it's not just about getting good grades. It's about really learning and trying to understand, and you don't always have to be perfect. So I really enjoyed kind of following my dad and my grandpa in their footsteps and becoming a mechanical engineer.
That is so great. Applying girl power, no pressure to be the first one. Yep. What is it about mechanical engineering that really lit you up?
I think that what I liked the most about it was just learning about so many different things. So again, like I said, wasn't sure what type of engineering I wanted to do, but mechanical engineering, you can use it in so many different fields. So the fact that I didn't know if I wanted to, I had never really even heard of the oil and gas industry when I got into college. So I thought, okay, well, I could work on cars, I could work on airplanes, I could work on, I could go even to like computers and all of those different things. So that's what the path my dad had taken. My grandpa worked for Hallmark, designing ornaments. So, it's like so many different things that you could do. So I just really like that aspect of it.
I think you may be more techie than either of them. Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, I want to introduce Clara Astua. Clara graduated from Cal State University of Long Beach, go Beach, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering and an emphasis in structural design. She did that in 2012. Congrats. She was hired by the City of Long Beach Building and Safety Bureau in 2013 as a building inspector aide, providing permitting services to the public. Since then, Clara has been promoted 3 times. First to civil engineering assistant, then to civil engineering associate, and now as a full civil engineer. Her responsibilities include architectural and structural plan check review of new and existing building projects, including both residential and commercial spaces. She continues to add to her skill set and is currently pursuing a master's degree in public administration. She'll be graduating this May and hopes to one day become the Director of Development Services. We certainly would like to see that. So, Clara, do you have a story to share for us?
Yes, actually. Not a lot of people know I was actually born in Costa Rica, and I came here when I was 10 years old, and always been like super interested in like math and sciences. I thought at first I wanted to be an architect, but I guess it wasn't as challenging as I thought. So I was looking into civil engineering, and having 5 fields in civil engineering, just like Katie said, in mechanical, you can just do a lot of things that you don't know you could do. And civil is the same way. It has water resources, building, transportation. So because it had building in it, I was really drawn into it. But as well as like what Kathye was saying, going into my classes, it was like just a bunch of guys, and only 1 or 2 girls in there. So it's kind of challenging, coming from a very diverse high school where, you get guys, girls, and people from everywhere, just to be in a class with just guys. It's a little intimidating, but, you push through. Now that that I work as a civil engineer, I'm the only girl building plan checker. So I sit down every Wednesday, well, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, in the boardroom with 10 other guys, so you just got to assert yourself in there and not be afraid. That's what I would tell the girls, just not to be afraid of having your own voice. But I love what I do. Structural design, anything that has to do with buildings. That's what I'm really into. So I'm really happy where I'm at right now.
Well, I really appreciate your sharing about perseverance. It's too many times we give up before we reach the goal. And sometimes it's just about keep taking the steps, that small step forward, that next step, that next one, and staying the course. So for young ladies who may struggle a little bit in math, or may not have the support of other female students along their side, knowing that on the other end you can have success if you don't give up, that's super important. And then understanding that, right now, today, you're still in a male dominated space. But if we have more Claras who continue to persevere, that will change. And so it all starts with you. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Next, I want to introduce the lovely Sunny Zia. Currently, she's serving her 2nd term on the Long Beach Community College District Board, having been elected a trustee originally in 2014. In her trustee post, she became the first Jewish Iranian American woman to assume elected public office in California. So, woohoo! As a first-generation Iranian American, the importance of hard work and education in achieving the American dream have been paramount in her life. She was the only female and the first to graduate from her class of civil engineering with a Bachelor of Science degree in civil engineering from the University of Tehran. She later graduated with honors and received a Master of Science from University of California, Irvine, also in civil engineering. She has over 2 decades of experience in construction, environmental, water, and infrastructure projects. As a contract compliance and program manager with the Port of Long Beach, Sunny has overseen a variety of multidisciplinary capital improvement programs, including $870 million worth of work spanning construction, remediation, and oil field operation and relocation efforts. Welcome, Sunny. We can't wait to hear your story.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that warm welcome. And my story starts when I was 9, I guess, when similar to Clara, I came here as an immigrant, and my pathway in engineering really goes back that far because my English wasn't good and I was great at math. It was my outlet. It was my way of speaking to others in the international language. It was how I was able to excel in my school, in my classroom, and it was fun. It was really great. Fast forward, I grew up in the States and went to Iran for my high school and undergraduate years. And then again, math came in handy because my Farsi now wasn't good enough. So it just came really naturally, and it was a way for me, it was cathartic. It gave me a lot of solace to be able to do the math problems and forget about a lot of the issues that I was dealing on the day-to-day lives, including oppression, economic disadvantage that we were in. And I was able to get into the top tier schools in the country. So they paid for my way in school, but it was really difficult because I was pretty much the only female among 100 guys in my classroom, class of civil engineering that year. And I remember it was so intimidating because these guys, these are the top 100 in the country that I was in the same classroom with. And I remember these guys would fight over the first row. And I was like, there's just no way I can excel among these, top echelon, erudites. And it wasn't until towards the end of my fourth year that I just sunk in that, hey, you know what? I think it's just a facade. And I need to believe in myself. And it was so, got to a point when I reached that level that I was like, I started believing in myself. And I became the first who graduated from my classroom. And I came back to the States. And one of the stark memories that I have, and the lesson I learned from an early age, I was the first to graduate, went to school early, skipped a grade. So I was really young in the industry. And to be able to be taken seriously, just like Kathye mentions, just to speak up. And, I'm a short little 5'3.5" woman. So, I didn't have steel-toed boots my size even at the time. But I had a loud, I was pretty loud. And, I fought for what was, I believe was right, and spoke up. And my first job, it was the biggest testament. I would make 100 calls. I would venture out to say 100 calls a month to get my first job. And I was getting paid $6 an hour. Oh. I had to really starve my ego. I saved up all my money after I got that job. And it just really taught me the importance of working hard, not taking a no for an answer. If you really want something, going for it, having the confidence in yourself as a woman. A lot of times we give our power away as girls and women and feel like we're not good enough. And that's the one thing I learned, is that people don't care what gender you are, what ethnicity you are. If you're going to deliver service, if you're going to provide value, and if you're a go-getter, they're going to love you. At least that's what I look for in a person if I want to hire them, is like, what value are they going to provide to the organization? It's really about the merit. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have to help unpack some of these touch points.
Amazing. So yeah, again, another story of perseverance and sticking to it, speaking up, believing in yourself. And then having, the confidence, like if there's something that you really are passionate about. So Sunny was passionate about math, not giving up on math, because it turns out that was her access to a future that she had to fight for, but at least she had the comfort of that along the way. So thank you, Sunny, for sharing your story. Next, I'd like to have Jacqui share a little bit about herself and how she became involved. Jacqui, uh, Jacqui is an educator and is a fabulous board member with Shared Science. So, Jacqui, I'm hoping you can share a little bit about that.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for participating in this panel today. What a fabulous group of women. It's really a privilege to be among all of you. You know, my background is in education. I consider myself a lifelong learner, and I have never been afraid to try things. And I think that that's something that I see in all of you, and that we have to know, just like I always think about that Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Isn't that him who said that? That if you don't try and do something, if you don't speak up, if you don't make that suggestion, you'll never know. And most of the time when people want to hear, you know, or brainstorming or trying to solve a problem, they want to hear all of the possibilities, all of the suggestions. I did not study science, but I grew up with a scientist father. He was a biophysicist. He actually was the first person to get a PhD in biophysics from University of California, Davis. And then he worked at the University of Pennsylvania. I grew up around the medical school and around the scientists there. And my father actually worked with some of the first computers. And so I would go with him to work at the University of Penn. And we would go into this giant air-conditioned room, which was one computer. And it was really cold. It had to be really cold to keep all the spinning tape and everything functioning. And we would use these punch cards and put these punch cards into this teletype machine. At that punched in the code that made it do or store the information that it was doing. And we got to play on some of the first computers, play computer games that were just words. And it would ask you questions and you would answer yes or no. And then it would go on to the next part of the game. And I just thought that was normal back then, not knowing that a lot of people didn't get to do that. And I fell in later. My passion was always languages, and that's what I studied at UC Berkeley. And then I became I got my degree in educational administration at Cal State Long Beach. So, but I didn't fall into STEM really until my daughter got involved at her elementary school, and she wanted to be on the robotics team. And it was with Shared Science. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about it, and I'm going to just jump in and try. And I found out that we could learn together and figure things out together. And it was super fun. And I've just kept being involved with it ever since, because I realized how important it is for all kids to have the opportunity to pursue STEM, to, even if that's not the career path that you follow, to learn about learning, to learn about problem solving, to learn about science and technology. Those are all things that all of us need to know about to live in 21st century modern life. And so it's really exciting for me to keep learning about more avenues of engineering and science that all of you have pursued, because I don't even know about all of these career paths. So it's really exciting for me too.
Thank you, Jacqui. And we are so pleased and delighted to have your enthusiasm working on behalf of Shared Science. Like, no kidding. That's awesome. Next up, I'd like to introduce Olivia Pettis. Olivia is a 9th grader at Long Beach Polytechnic High School, and she has aspirations of doing social justice work for the less fortunate and minorities. And we've asked her here today to share a little bit about herself and how STEM impacts her, and to ask our panelists some questions from the perspective of a student. Olivia, take it away.
Hi, thank you for having me. I wanted to share an experience I had where 2 years in a row, I volunteered at Wonder Woman Tech, the Wonder Woman Tech Conference. And this foundation provides access to STEAM or STEM fields to women, girls, and marginalized communities. That experience helped me realize that I want to work to create opportunities, not just in math or science, but across the board for girls and especially women of color and LGBTQ youth.
Amazing. Well, we're all behind you rooting for it.
Thank you.
All right. So, Olivia, we are going to turn it over to you to do our Q&A.
My first question is, what colleges were attended by the panel members? And what was your experience, especially with Sunny working with mostly men?
Sure. I went to school at Clarkson College of Technology. It's like a small private engineering firm in upstate New York. And originally it was an all male school. So there was St. Lawrence University next door, which the women took home economics in that school. So the engineering school was all men. So I believe I was like the second or third class that allowed women in the school. So there wasn't a whole lot of women in the school, but the experience was great. You know, it was a really technically driven school, a lot of good professors, a lot of good hands-on lab, work, even in math and stuff, a lot of classes, a lot of clubs and everything. It was a campus. We probably had, I don't know, 500 people in my class and stuff. So it really wasn't a really huge class. So there's a lot of more personal type experience that you might not get from a huge college. So I was, other than the weather was freezing in the wintertime, it was all by St. Lawrence, Seaway. So if you don't like snow, don't go there. So.
Sunny, you want to go next?
Sure, gosh, such a good question. Thank you, Olivia and Michelle. So yeah, mine was a little bit tougher experience. I wasn't supposed to make, apparently, the top 100 in the country. I didn't really believe that I actually made it in. So half the time it was a struggle to try to just keep up. It was incredibly competitive. Like I said, these guys would fight over the first row. And since I was the only female, it was hard to be in that same club of guys. And so I was really alone. It was very lonely, but I had to do everything on my own and had to really get creative on seeking knowledge because I couldn't really be in the same group. So my years, that was maybe one of the motivations where I wanted to graduate earlier. It was just incredibly you versus, your scholastic endeavors, and there was no room for fun. So that was a little bit tough. It was like going to military school. But, for my master's as well, because the resources were so limited in Iran whenever I was there, the silver lining was that I really appreciated anything and everything I could learn and be able to excel. So that really taught me a lot. And for my master's, I went to University of California, Irvine, and what a stark difference. Everybody wanted to help you. Everybody wanted to go above and beyond. So at first I was a little skeptical, like, why are they trying to be so nice to me? Why is everything so readily available? And so that was really fascinating. But I graduated early for my master's too. I finished in 9 months. And part of the thing that I wish I would do differently is just to take my time a little bit and pause and be a little bit more deliberative and just enjoy the time with my classmates and just not be in such a rush. That was pretty much my experience. It's very different, I know, but I never had a college life. So maybe in my midlife crisis, I will get a mulligan this time around.
Great. Clara?
Hi, Olivia, and thank you for your question. I actually went to Cal State Long Beach. That's the school that I chose. I actually applied to 12 schools. I got into 10 of them, but I chose California Long Beach because they have a more hands-on, like Sunny was saying, it's very hands-on experience that I was looking for instead of just theory. The advice that I would give people is to get involved in everything and everything that you can, which is what I did. We have a steel bitch competition and a canoe competition. So basically, you're hands-on building these pieces and going to compete at a national level. In this competition is where I met most of the friends that I now have still. women. And so it was half women, half men in the team, where everybody else that we went to compete against was men, like team, like men, 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 men. And we actually placed third nationally the year that I did it. Thank you. Yeah, so it's just get involved. Do like, and my mindset is I can do anything that they can, that men can do. So just continue to persevere and get ahead and do everything that that you want to do. You can do it. So that was my experience.
That's so great. Katie?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Kansas. So this is located in a good college town, typical, we go to football games, I went to like almost every single basketball game when I was in college. So definitely a very different story than I think what Sunny had, but it was a super, really big school, state school. I really enjoyed it a lot. So I studied mechanical engineering, and but I also got a degree in business administration. So they had a dual degree program that I really liked, being able to kind of study two different fields at the same time. With only adding like an additional year of college. So I thought that was a really great program. But the mechanical engineering, that whole program was really, it was kind of similar, I guess, in some of the ways that the rest of the people were saying. There weren't a lot of men. I think there were 12 out of 100 students or something in my class that were women. But then on the business side, I was like, half and half. So it kind of like balanced out some of my experience, I think, where, I didn't feel so isolated or anything like that, by having more exposure to women in other areas. But again, I think part of it is just kind of learning to adapt to the situation, trying to be involved in those opportunities. Getting involved in different projects, senior design projects, things like that are not just, that are with teammates and partners that are, from all different types of backgrounds. So I think those are the type of opportunities that you need to try to pursue, that I really enjoyed pursuing myself.
Okay, my next question is, who are some women that you have looked up to over the years and right now, and why? So Sunny can go first.
Yes, thank you, Olivia. I think that's such a great question. The woman that I've looked up to throughout my years, like Mother Teresa has always been the ultimate role model for me, because she's a quintessential selfless and public servant. So I've always wanted to be like her. Hopefully I have maybe attempted to strive to be like her. And, there's some women engineers in my world. My aunt was a civil engineer, and she was my role model, and I always wanted to be like her. So that's how I got into the field. And she was a Wonder Woman in all aspects. And that was pretty much, those two were my, and of course my mom, who was the most hardworking woman I know, and still is to this day. So those are the three role models I would mention from my end.
On my end, I would like to second my mom. I mean, I feel like, everybody's mom is like their superhero. But mine, like, she's always been there for me. She's pushed me to just follow my dreams, The other one would be when I got hired for the city, we actually had a director that was a female, Amy, and she was kind of like my mentor. And basically, it's when I saw, okay, you can be a boss and you can be a woman, and, that's okay. So those are the two people that I looked up to.
Katie?
I'm going to have to add on a third for my mom. It's always impressive just to see everything that you witness that firsthand, right? Growing up, just seeing everything that they can do. In addition to that, as I'm sitting here, I've been trying to think of like specific people that I've see as role models, but a lot of times I think it's more just the people around you. The women that I work with in Women's Interest Network. So WIN is the group that I'm the chair of. And I just get a lot of information from just individuals from all these different, being inspired by someone stepping out of their comfort zone, just, taking on a new challenge that I've never seen them take on before. And I think it's just kind of like these everyday heroes that you see that are really inspiring, just, from all aspects of where I work and what I do.
Man, parents who are listening right now, it's like moms and dads, you guys are the role models for sure. Kathye?
So it looks like the moms win again for me. So my dad was engineer, my mom was stay at home, and we had 5 kids, and we all end up being, engineers or, doctors. And it was her multitasking, her ability to multitask and to get meals on the table and, pay the bills and do the finances and stuff. She was like the Energizer bunny of getting everything done. And she always worked tirelessly with our homework and playing games and everything. So she's kind of taught me the value of kind of multitasking and, going after what you want, and organization, is kind of a big thing. Today I think I kind of echo Katie's, through my career, I've had the opportunity to mentor and also to befriend a lot of women and engineers, training these engineers, young engineers throughout their career, being a mentor to them, still friends with a lot of the people that I've mentored today. And, hopefully they remember me fondly too. So anyway, it's been a great challenge meeting the women and providing, guidance in getting their career going and getting them like to the next level or to promotions or, what they need to do. A lot of candid conversations with them and a lot of input kind of back and forth. So, kudos again to the engineers that I've worked with in the past. They've actually inspired me also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so my last question is, what are paths that people in junior high and high school should take to become engineers or a part of the STEAM or STEM category?
I think math is really important. It teaches you logical skill sets that you can carry forward to everyday life. Math is so sequential and logical and stuff. So if you can master math, I say you can master the world. I know chemistry, I took a lot of chemistry. I was always involved in kind of mixing things together and, how things interact and everything. And, and then also physics too, physics and chemistry, it just piqued my interest. And those have been kind of invaluable, just the whole skill set around the whole science courses that kind of build you a well-rounded person. You get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and eventually it all kind of comes together. And it's like, wow, you get this aha moment once you've taken up with these courses and stuff and say, I'm really, really interested in this. So my suggestion is find what you're passionate about and then just pursue that. Find what you have a great interest in and then kind of go after that.
I would add to that don't just because you don't think you're going to pursue a pathway that is science or STEM related, don't drop out those classes because they do round out your understanding. As Kathye was saying, they help you make sense of the world and have a more well-rounded perspective in your problem solving because every job requires you to solve problems and go through a process. Katie, do you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, try to take as many math and science classes as you can. I think kind of what Kathye was saying, engineering really relies a lot on physics and chemistry, depending on which way you go. If you're chemical, you do a lot more chemistry. If you're mechanical, do a lot more physics. Also really solid understanding of calculus. So as much as you can take those advanced math courses, I think it's just going to help set you up for future success. But in addition to that, I think, kind of what you were saying, Michelle, like, I think it's important to also expand your base a little bit too, because a lot of times when you get into college, you kind of start focusing on more of what your career path is going to be. So if you're going to be doing engineering, you're going to end up taking pretty much mostly engineering. You're going to have some electives and things like that. But it's also a good time in high school to take advantage of having some opportunities. I was in choir. I did theater stuff, like I was completely opposite of what I do now, which is engineering. But I think it just helps you become a more well-rounded person and helps you try to approach problems in different ways. So yeah, you approach problems with math and science, but also get your creative juices going and figure out ways to be innovative, and things like the arts can really help expand expand the ways that you think about things too. So yeah, I think it's important just to kind of be a very well-rounded person.
Thank you. Jacqui, do you have anything to add?
I think those are perfect points. The only thing I wanted to just chime in and mention that Clara attended Cal State Long Beach. The engineering program there, right in our own city here, is one of the top programs. It's a very excellent engineering program. So for students in Long Beach to know with the college promise that you have a pathway straight to a great school right in our own city.
So Olivia, it's our time to ask you a question. So how important do you think education will be to your future?
I think it will be very important. I'm not really sure if I want to go into math or science, but I might want to do law, which is going to take a very long time, but I really want to help communities that don't have the same things I have, that I can relate to, and that need more help and need people like me and other people to help them along the way. Because a lot of marginalized communities don't have the same access to resources as others do. And that's really important to me to help them. And I feel like the best way to do that is through law. But I also do love like musical theater and arts and all that. So I'm not really sure what I want to do in my future, but I do want to have social justice in there, definitely.
Well, I can say that you can have it all. You can take your theater classes and use them in the courtroom. So you have to share a story. And if you want that story to be powerful, you have to have the background. So the theatrics are all part of that. So don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
So again, I just want to wrap up and say thank you all for joining us. And we hope that this chat with these amazing women in STEM will inspire you and inspire your families to encourage young women to pursue pathways in STEM. And even if they don't, that they consider that science and math aren't something that is for someone else, but they are topics, subjects for you as well. So take care, and hopefully you enjoyed Robotech Festival and some of the other workshops, but take care and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.